All right. Hello again. Welcome. My name is Cynthia, and this is the Circle of Love, our monthly online gathering for community and creativity. Today, we are going to work on something called heartstrings. So it is a project that involves making these paper hearts. And I will also show how to make these simple little pom-poms or tassels. And using a string or pieces of string that we tie together, we create a hanging, almost mobile-like contraption and colorful contraption, I like to call it, that is very meaningful and that will incorporate our ideas about love in various ways today. So throughout the project, I will bring up different ways that we're going to think about love. And that you get to decorate love, okay, in our project. So I'm going to flash over to my work surface. I'll show you what supplies I have. Okay, and I have, starting out with 2 sheets today of this thicker kind of mixed media paper, but you can have any other kind of paper. It could be construction paper, it could be cardstock paper, anything you happen to have around the house. As a matter of fact, it could even be plain like copy paper. That would really work fine for today as well. I have a ruler that might be helpful, or any straight edge would work. I have scissors. I have a pencil. If you don't have a pencil, a pen would work fine too. Or you could use one of your markers. Or if you're preferring to use crayons today, you can use your crayons. That's all a possibility. I also have some attaching supplies like standard tape. It could be any other kind of tape you might have. Instead, some blue tape. That's fine too. All of that will work for today. I have a stapler. You really only need one or the other, but if you have a stapler and you don't have tape, then that will work. And then I have some string. I actually have a pile of pieces of string here myself because this is what I could find, but I've already taken a few of the pieces in here somewhere and I've tied them together to make a longer segment. It is in here. There it is. I found it. So you can do that as well. If all you have is short pieces, then you can attach them together to create a longer piece. Okay. All right. And we're going to get started. But before we do, I invite you to put on your artist hat. Believe in yourself as a creative being. Release all judgment and expectation. Allow yourself to get lost in the intuitive journey and follow whatever direction your inspiration leads you. Make whatever interpretation of these ideas you wish. Experiment, explore, and discover, and there is no wrong way to do this. Okay. All right, I'm going to get started. Remember that any of my ideas you can change and you can do your very own way. The first thing that I'm going to think about doing is making myself some strips of paper. So I'm taking my ruler and I'm really just estimating. There's no need to measure. This is not a perfect calculation. So I'm just estimating around here with my straight edge. I'm kind of drawing a line like this on my paper. So I make a strip about this thick. Okay. And then I'm going to cut so you can kind of see how that strip gets created. So here I have a strip. If I put it on my hand, you can see approximately how wide that is. You can vary the width if you prefer to work with narrower strips or if you prefer to work with wider strips, it's all fine. It all works. I'm using this width to give me enough space to have some good design on there and maybe even some writing if I want to. And also to be able to capture color. So if I bring my example heartstrings over here and I turn it sideways, you can kind of see that there are some designs on there, right? And the width will allow you to capture a little bit more of that design or that color. Okay. And here's kind of another one. Another example here. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is take time now to go ahead and make a couple more. Let's actually finish out this whole first page with some of these strips, and you can make them all the same width if you like, or you can vary the width. I'm actually going to vary the width on mine. So I made it a little bit more narrow. You can see the difference here. This one's more wide. This is more narrow or thinner. Okay, and then maybe I'm going to make one that's really skinny, which is just the width of the ruler that I'm using. And then I'm going to go back to my wider one and just kind of continue with this variety. You might be someone who already has strips of paper. That's fantastic. And maybe you're repurposing them. That's wonderful. Okay. Or you may be someone who prefers to create your hearts a different way. That's fantastic too. That is wonderful and creative. Again, there's no wrong way to do this. I'm simply showing you one way to do this. Once you continue and you have your strips all cut, okay, I'm going to set these aside for right now. I'm going to invite you today to set a different intention for each of the different strips, which will become a different heart. So ultimately, each different heart will have with it a different intention. And what I mean by an intention is something that you're specifically focusing on just for that one item. So if this strip was going to be turned into this heart then would have its own separate theme or idea or purpose or meaning. Okay. And when I move to a different strip or a different heart, it will have a different purpose, idea, or meaning or intention. Now I'm going to give you some ideas of some different intentions, and I'll get mine started so you can kind of hear how I'm working. But again, you are welcome to interpret this in your own way and change the intention or change the meaning if you prefer. Okay. For my first strip, I am going to start thinking about love of self. So this can come in the form of self-care. It can come in the form of positive self-talk. It can come in the form of compliments to the self. In a variety of ways, we can think about self-love. We can even simply write the word, and that's what I'm going to start by doing, is writing the word self-love. And here is where you can get very fancy with your writing, or if that causes you too much struggle in your mind, just keep it simple. So right now I'm working on keeping it simple. So on one side, I'm writing the word self-love. And what I'm going to do is on the other side, I'm going to write, how does that self-love show up for me in my life? Or how do I need that self-love to show up more in my life? And right now I'm going to share that in my life, I'm needing my self-love to come in the form of slowing down. And sometimes that means slowing down and doing less in my schedule. But a lot of times I'm noticing it really means slowing down my body movements. We stack things up in our schedule, at least I do. And it causes me to start wanting to also make my movements faster, walk faster, reach faster, turn faster. Everything suddenly becomes faster. And the physical aspect of that fastness does actually start to take a toll on our body and on my body. And so right now my focus is to slow down my movements. So I'm putting slowing down my movements as my main focus. If there are other things that you feel or ways that you feel that self-love shows up in your life, and it's not just one, write them all down, write as many down as you want. There is no limit. There are no rules. After I've jotted those down, and I'm going to turn back over to the front side, and I'm going to go ahead and start adding some color and some design and some decoration in different areas of this. And it's okay to cover up the words if that's something that is, again, something that is kind of taking up too much energy in your brain right now and making you more confused, to try to keep them uncovered, then cover them. Okay, right now. This process is a lot about the act of creating and the wonderful and medical benefits of that as well. So we don't always have to be just thinking our way through this whole thing. So you can see I've added very simply a design and color just with a single long stroke of a marker. And now several of those put together with different colors instantly make it decorative and colorful and interesting. On the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and add any design or color I want. Again, you can go right over the words, or you can go around the words, it's your choice. And this time I'm going to try a combination of some different organic random squiggles, maybe some different organic random colors. But I also want to try a combination of coloring supplies. So I'm just going to grab, I'm not even thinking about what colors I'm taking. And I'm just adding some different patches right now, focusing on making it different coloring supplies is all. When you change anything and you introduce variety, your brain becomes more interested, which produces some wonderful magical chemicals that really can inspire creativity, can boost mood, just do really wonderful, amazing things for you. And again, I'm not even focusing or worrying right now about design or creation. It's just the task of coloring and changing. I am giving myself that task as well, to change, keep changing the color. Okay, and fill that little white space in there. And I'm going to fill this little white space in here. Something I really like about using crayons also is that it applies a wax coating to your paper, which happens to make your paper a little bit thicker and stronger. Okay, and especially if you press harder while you're using your crayon, you get a more dense layer of wax. And it just it also makes a really nice tactile kind of feel on my surface. So here's what I have for my first strip: self-love, and what that means for me in my life. Okay. If you feel like you need more time on this first strip, by all means, please keep going. I'm simply moving to my next strip so I can have enough strips completed that I can begin to demonstrate how these strips start to come together into heart forms and then attach together into heartstrings. Okay. For my next intention and on my next strip, I am going to think about, how does love show up in my environment or in my world? So I'm going to call it world love. Okay. If you want to call it something different, please call it something different for yourself. Oh, because I'm also working on variety today and change, I'm going to also change the color that I write these words with. So let's see. So I'm calling this world love. And I like this idea particularly, and I feel I'm excited about this idea here of world love, particularly because, so many times we get lost in the negative things that are happening in the world, and or negative ways or changes that we see in the world. But there are a lot of great things there too. So what are those things in the world, in our environment, that we love, that excite us, that bring us joy, that give us encouragement? Any of those things that are in our environment or in our world, or maybe the way that our world around us could possibly use more love as well. That's another interpretation you can think about, if that's something that is relevant to your life right now. Any of those are possible. For me, when I think of world love, I think of so many people interested in helping others. I've had the wonderful opportunity in this past couple of years to get to work with many, many people who are not interested in getting paid, who really just want to give their time and their energy for the purpose of helping others, empowering others, giving to others. And I get to see firsthand just what a wonderful world it really is in that way, that just as much as people, maybe worry about those who are out to do no good, there are just as many people that are out to do much good. So I'm going to put, let's see here, I think I'm going to put it in terms of wonderful people. And I'm noticing too that I'm changing my font. I just felt like doing that this time. Kind of turned out a little italic, kind of in an italic format, and maybe possibly starting to be script. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to now take time to flip back over to the front, and again, start the process of decorating. And I think this time on the front, I'll start with coloring with some crayon. And this time I feel like changing. Again, I do invite you to think about changing colors, changing directions, changing design, changing pattern. Just give it a try. It invites new possibilities, new opportunities, sometimes new directions, and sometimes new perspectives. And anytime we're growing in perspective, we're growing the choices that we have. And that is the fundamental essence of resilience and empowerment, is our choices that we have available to us. So I've just decided to go with this striped kind of look, this direction. I'm not really planning it out very far or very, very much here. Focusing again just on changing color and not worrying about, if I have already used this color that I just picked up again, not worrying about that, just leaving it simple, like change, any change at all. And I thought at first I thought I was going to incorporate some marker into this design as well, but it turns out my hand just wants to keep choosing another color of crayon and adding another stripe. And that's okay. Just let it. This is the intuitive process. Letting your hand lead, letting your body lead, rather than letting your brain or mind do all of the controlling. Great. Now I've gone this far. So I started here. Notice I didn't start at the beginning. I allowed myself to start in the middle with these stripes. And now that I've gotten to the end, I realized, okay, I'm ready to start adding some markers. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add some marker with these similar wavy lines that I used on self-love. And my hand felt like doing those again. They feel really good to do, to draw. And now I'm realizing that I like the idea that this strip of paper that says world love could be related to this one that says self-love. After all, I do live in the world around me as well, and I am a part of that. And because I love the idea of the wonderful people that I find in that world, and I would love to be one of those wonderful people, I have a piece of that concept right now installed here in this strip as well. It's okay if your ideas merge together between strips as well, or if they're connected in some way. All right, I'm going to continue with my coloring. Now, some of you might be maybe incorporating other coloring or decorating supplies in this project. Like instead of markers or crayons, you might be using paints, or maybe you're using collage, or maybe you're using other supplies on the strips, or maybe you're just simply, your project has a different form. Maybe you're not working on strips. Maybe you're working on flat hearts that you've cut out already in heart shape, or maybe they're boxes like squares or rectangles or triangles. Really, it doesn't matter. And I look forward to hearing more about your creations. What I'm trying to do, I'm going to hurry and speed up my process here of coloring. Now, you don't have to do any speeding up. I'm only doing this so I can do my demonstrating. Okay, and I'm going to add, I think I like to add some of this yellow here. There we go. All right, I have 2 strips finished. I have self-love, I have world love. If you're looking for additional intentions or ideas for intentions, then I'm going to go ahead and share a couple more just ideas for intentions, but then I'm going to take a break from the decorating and designing, and I'm going to show you how I begin to form these into hearts and attach them together to form heartstrings. So we've got self-love, world love. And another thing that I'm going to invite you to think about is maybe the way that the different and various emotions of love. Many times we've been in situations where we do love someone dearly, and that attachment to that person or that thing or that place or that memory comes along with some difficult feelings. Okay, so sometimes it might be mad love, right? And sometimes it might be, and I'm going to turn this over to the other side, it might be happy love. So the emotions related to loving, to the experience of loving, can sometimes be complicated. And it's okay to make room for that. It's okay to acknowledge that. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to decorate it. All right. So something to think about, emotions. I'm gonna now leave this blank strip blank. I'll come back around maybe to incorporate or introduce other concepts or other ideas, other ways of looking at love or thinking about love. But actually, it could be that maybe you put somebody's name, or you do put the name of the memory or describe the memory or the place, something that excites you, something specific that brings you love, that just is enjoyable and pleasurable for you. You can do that too. Okay, that's another concept. All right, so I'm going to take these away and I show you how I am going to fold to create. Let me show you what I mean first. To create a heart. Okay, heart like this. The first thing I'm going to do is fold this in half. Fold this strip here in half. Okay, like that. Make a letter V. Okay. Now we have our scissors nearby. This is going to be the time when you're going to want to just snip a little hole like this. A really small hole. Let me bring it closer to the camera so you can see how small it is. It's a very, very small little slit. Okay. That way, when you open up your strip, you have that hole there now. Okay. You can see it right there. Right? It doesn't need to be big at all. We just need to be able to fit your string through there. Okay, so I'm going to bring my string over. Remember, I'm starting with a very long string. There we go. Okay, I'm starting with a very long string. Very, very long string. And I'm going to go ahead and poke my very long string through. Notice you can choose whether you want these words on the outside of the heart or these words, whether you want to be on the outside of the heart. I think I'm going to keep these words on the outside of my heart. So I'm going to fold this back up so that these words are on the outside of the letter V. Okay. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these two ends of the strip together. Okay, and you can see now that heart shape is formed, right? And when I do that, I want to capture, this requires a little finagling. I want to capture this, let me get under the camera, capture the string there in the middle of them. So this is what's happening right now with my string. Okay. And after you do the first one, you'll get much more comfortable with the others. Okay. But once it's in this position, this is where you can, if you're using tape, and here you might want to have two little pieces of tape already set out for yourself like this. Okay. You could take one piece and it goes here on the edge and wraps around. So it holds this edge together. Come to the other side. Come to this other side. And you put the other little piece, short little piece, wrap it around the edge. There. And that holds the form of the heart. And that squeezes the string here through the center. Okay. And so now you have a heart that is attached. Okay. All right. This would be the same process to attach all of your hearts. So I'm going to go ahead and come back. And I think I'm going to keep my large concept on the outside. So I'm going to fold this in half. Again. Cut my little slit here, just a tiny little slit at the bottom right here in the center, which is the bottom of the V. right here. It's very small. I'm going to open it up and find that little slit. And I'm going to take my same string that I was using already, where I attached my first heart, and I'm going to put it through that slit. And you might notice, look, I was putting mine through and I accidentally tore a little bit. It's okay. It's all right. It's still strong. It'll be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and send this through. And you might notice that I planned on having these words on the outside, world love on the outside. But what's happening is I'm bringing my heart up, the strip. I'm pulling the string just to get this strip closer to where the other heart is. Actually, I'm gonna have to keep the hearts in the same direction, I'm gonna have to fold it this way, putting these words on the outside instead, right? If you want to plan ahead and you want, I could take the strip right back off right now and flip it over and slide it on the other direction so that I do get these words on the outside like I want to, or I can practice acceptance right now and I can practice spontaneity, and I'm going to leave it where it is in the way that it is. I'm going to do that. Okay. So I'm going to bring these ends like this around and just kind of holding with one hand. I have this string passing through here, passing through the center to grab that top edge of the heart. I've got two little strips of paper. Or I said paper, I mean tape. And I'm going to attach this here. And I'm going to attach this here. If I was using a stapler instead, you would simply just staple that instead of tape it. It's the same exact location. So now I have these two hearts attached. I like the strips of the hearts, or the strips for the hearts, because it makes them kind of see-through. And I just like that 3D element of them. And now I'll talk a little bit about pom-poms or fringes. So to create these pom-pom-like contraptions that just add a lot of fun, a kind of fun feel to your heartstring. Okay, I take a few of these strings that I have, which is actually yarn. And if you don't have this much, that's okay. Just gather together a little bundle. And I have my bundle is about this long right here. Okay. And I'm just basically going to fold it in half one time. I'm going to fold it in half another time. I think I'll leave mine about that big. So I've just neatly folded it up, and I take an additional string or piece of string that's shorter, and I tie it right in the middle. So I'm laying this piece of string down on the surface of the table, setting down my little bundle right on top like that, making it line up down this string line up down the center of the bundle. And now I carefully just try to tie that together. It's okay if it doesn't end up in the center. It's okay if it's not nice and neat. It's okay if not all the strings get tied up in there. It's okay. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to cut the ones that have curves on the ends of them like this to open them up and make them just kind of be loose and open and free. You don't have to cut them if you don't want to. If you prefer to leave them like this, almost like a bow effect, that's okay. There we go. So I'm leaving these open and loose and free. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to place this in between these two hearts. And I'm going to do that. Remember, this is the string that tied that bundle together. It's now going to come here and I'm going to tie it on to here. And I'm going to do 1 knot. And I'm going to do 2 knots, definitely at least a double knot. Okay. Now I can leave these the longer pieces dangling. Okay. These longer pieces dangling. And I kind of like that idea. It just makes it kind of scraggly looking. And I like that effect. If you want it neater, then you can trim them. But here is now what you start to get is the construction of your heartstring project. And this, when it's hanging in hanging form, will dangle somewhat like that. Okay. I'm going to take a break from my recording now. If you're watching not live, then I encourage you to keep going and continue this project. And as always, I invite you to send me photos of your finished creation. I always love seeing your ideas. And I want to thank you for trying this out and for growing your creativity too. I hope to get to see you next time. All right. Have a wonderful day.